Cern Basher says that he has some hilarious slides for us today. Is that it? Did I get that right?
I don't know about hilarious, Randy, but on the humorous side, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
we're
right.
having some fun.
Well, good. Fun is always good. What were you thinking about Tesla today? It's now this, I'm not 100% sure this will go on Thursday night. But if it does go on Thursday night, I would love to know what you think. Is this 6 days in a row of up market? There's like no way it can be up 7 days in a row
Apparently, according to AJ, the rally's over.
for 2 days,
It's time for test
but only for 2 days.
only for 2 days.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So 2 days
Yeah,
down and then back up to the the what would it be into the 400s next, right?
hopefully. Yep. Yeah, we can according to AJ, we can take Thursday, Friday off and just come back on Monday and enjoy the rally again. So we'll see.
Okay. I'm running out of days here because everybody's giving me a break and saying I've got until the middle of June now to get to my all-time high instead of
Mm.
May 30th as an absolute date. They give me a little flex there.
I would even give you until mid-July, Randy. I'd be okay with that.
Be okay. I think everybody be okay. The question is whether or not they be calling me gifted. You know,
That's okay. If you don't get it right, no one's going to remember,
I see. Okay. That's probably true too. So
except for there'll be one guy that will remember.
I'll remember. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's definitely. So and I'm way more interested in the end of the year number anyway. Brian Wong is now at a strong 1500.
Wow.
I'm continuing to stay in my loose thousand. And all the rest of the pundits, the Dan Ives and guys, they've all flaked out. They're down back into the 350, 400 range. So I don't know what happened to them. They were all 650 and they've all turned tail.
Well, at some point they'll have to revise their estimates. In my opinion, it's kind of a silly game, but people like to engage in it, so that's fine.
So I don't know if you're going to be doing anything with Optimus on this reel. Are you going to be talking about Optimus?
I don't know what you're talking about, Randy.
Okay, all right, all right. I'll let you go then. You can go ahead and upload your deck. Oh,
Yeah. Speaking of stock price and Optimus, you've
yeah,
hit both topics right here on the first slide.
yeah.
And I'm even making an exception this week. I'm not starting off with Cybertruck images.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah,
That's how exciting this Optimus development is.
indeed.
And you can see there from a few days ago, the stock had responded well that day, and then overnight was doing well.
Yep.
So, so that's good. Yeah. So it was, it's quite. I'm not sure I'd call it a breakthrough, but certainly solid progress to be able to train the bot in simulation. Here, disclaimer here. To train the bot in simulation and then put it in the real world and have it do stuff.
Yeah. I was particularly impressed by the footwork.
Yes.
It looked so human. That I wasn't looking so much at how it could do this or that mechanically, but rather the humanness of the way that the foot was kind of responding to the balance issues and the front to back and side to side, all of that. It was very human-like.
It was. I think the fluidity of the movements, I think, were impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought the head was maybe a little bit stiff, so I think
Okay.
maybe there's some opportunity there. But we also have to remember this is just the Generation 2 bot,
That's true. Absolutely right.
right? And those are the old hands. Those are not the 23-degree freedom hands or 22-degree freedom hands, whatever they are.
I
These are the
hadn't
old
even,
ones
I
still.
hadn't even noticed.
Yeah. So, they're not showing us the new stuff here.
Yeah.
But the fact that the bot can move this way, I thought was pretty impressive. And these still shots don't do it justice.
It's
But yeah, go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, in doing your bio last week, which we will, for those of you who were asking for it to be all in one continuous 1 hour and a half, that will happen probably over the weekend. We'll probably put it up as people that didn't watch it yet or only watched part of it and they want to watch it all at one time. We'll put that back up. But in your bio, I never did ask you whether you can dance. I know that this bot dances a lot better than me.
Yeah, well, I posted that the bot has finally caught up to my dancing abilities.
I see. Okay. All right.
And of course, there was some skepticism about that. So, a number of people are asking me to prove it.
I see.
But, yeah.
Well,
There have been times in my life, Randy, where I thought in my mind that I was a good dancer.
really? Okay.
I'm not so sure that reality bears that out, but at least in my mind.
I will give away my age and say that I came in second, I think second in a twist competition
Hmm.
back in the day. And then after that, I didn't like any of the dances that came after that. So I never really tried that hard to be any good. And I've been told by many that I'm not exactly great when it comes to my moves. Yeah,
Well, there's always hope.
that's right. Yes.
So I'm pausing on this image for a reason here. If you take a look at the foot,
Okay. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
what do you see going on down there?
It's folded.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
toes
Yeah.
flex there.
Yeah.
And I think we've known that for some time, but it's plainly obvious in this video. Um, and it's kind of interesting because it seems very clear to me that there should be a huge shoe contract for Optimus.
Absolutely. 100%.
I wrote actually this post, I think, over a year ago, and it was kind of in jest. Optimus signs a $1 trillion exclusive shoe contract with Nike. But if these shoe companies want to grow their volumes, humanoid robots would be a great new market opportunity.
Not only in terms of putting them on the bots, but in terms of getting everybody else to wear them, right?
Well, that's right. I mean, what perfect models for new shoes?
Yeah,
And these bots could be walking around, and humans might see them and say, "Well, I want a pair of those Nikes,
100%.
right? Or Asics, or Adidas, or Reebok, or whatever."
Right.
So, let's make a prediction here now that the Optimus will get a shoe contract one day.
So now what about the opposite? So Tesla makes their own seats for their cars. They
Yeah,
couldn't find anybody that could make a seat as well as they could. So what if their engineers decided, you know what, we can make a shoe at least as good as any of these guys, and we know that the markup on shoes is massive. So maybe they would decide to make their own shoe and then sell it as well under the Tesla brand.
perhaps. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. My preference would be that the Optimus comes from the factory with certain footwear,
Right.
but when it's in your house, you might want to dress it up a little bit with footwear and even clothing.
Yeah, 100%.
So in that case, it opens up a massive aftermarket opportunity.
Oh, I think they'll be clothed 100%. I think, that's I've always felt that they would you know, people would put clothes on them.
Oh, I think so. I think that's a certainty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Mario here talks about this. We're shifting here now to autonomous vehicles.
Okay.
So he's saying full self-driving isn't just a tech milestone, it's a civilizational leap. Okay. And he says for over a century, humans have designed cities, commutes, and entire economies around one assumption: someone has to be behind the wheel.
Mhm.
Full self-driving breaks that, not incrementally, fundamentally. We're approaching a world where cars drive themselves better than most people can. A world where traffic deaths, 1.3 million lives lost annually, become a solvable problem, where blind, elderly, or disabled individuals move freely. But
You've
the real
got
shift is
kids.
mental.
You've got kids. Kids too.
Kids too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe even pets. Um,
That's right.
and when cars no longer need drivers, everything else follows. Logistics, insurance, city planning, even home values. This isn't just a product, it's a prelude.
Yes. Yes, we've already been trying to picture our community. We live in a cul-de-sac. We're trying to picture a time when the cul-de-sac would be, paved over with grass,
Yeah.
if that makes sense at all.
Do you know what cul-de-sac means in French, Randy?
I probably should be able to figure it out, but go ahead. I'll go. I'll bite.
Bottom of the bag.
Bottom of the bag. I
So you
see.
live you live on the bottom of the bag,
Actually, we live at the top.
top
Oh,
of the bag. Okay, that's a good place to be.
yeah.
All right. Sorry for that diversion, but I couldn't resist.
You, yeah.
So Mario's post here got the attention of a quite an infamous short seller,
I see.
𝐂𝐦𝐚𝐲, and he reposted it and he added, "Yes, imagine being able to get to a location without being able to drive yourself. This has never happened before. This is a true civilizational leap." Right?
Uh-huh.
And again, this reminds me of the quote from the founder of Mercedes who said there'll never be more than 1 million automobiles in the
Right.
world because there's
Right.
only that many chauffeurs.
Right.
So 𝐂𝐦𝐚𝐲 is kind of channeling that kind of viewpoint.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little difference from, being driven around by somebody else or driven around by a bus, not the greatest experience to being still in a private vehicle or a vehicle where you have no attendant humans.
Yeah, he's missing the point about
Very.
the humans. It's the cost is the
And the cost as
change.
well. No, I'm talking
Yeah.
about there's two things. You've got both
Yes,
the other human experience as well as the cost being eliminated if they're driving you. Yeah.
that's right. So I took the opportunity here to respond to my new friend Jim. He and I have had some back and forth now on X,
Okay.
and I decided to take him at his literal word here. And I said, even short sellers can see the future. Just wait until they realize that robots will do all the work. And I reshared this chart, which, by the way, is not my chart.
Yes, yes. Okay.
The account, I think, by the name of Tesla Shareholder was the one that created this.
Okay.
So that, of course, prompted a response from 𝐂𝐦𝐚𝐲. And he said, this is actually quite good. He says, have you modeled the returns from Tesla robotic asteroid mining in 2060 yet? The TAM is infinite. And actually, I'm thinking of putting a spreadsheet together for that.
Yes, yes.
But my response to him was, that's silly. SpaceX will do that.
Yeah, it's not a Tesla deal. Yeah, yeah.
No,
You'll have to rent or buy the Optimi from Tesla to do that. Yeah.
that's right. So I want to thank him for this idea. This is a good new business model for SpaceX.
Yes, yes. And I don't
So
I I'm sure that he thought this was a completely ridiculous idea, but I think there's a tremendous number of really smart people who think this is absolutely part of the future.
oh, it's definitely coming. Yeah, the question is when, and maybe 2060 is the right date. Who knows?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, no, he's smarter than he realizes here. I think
That's
he
right.
thinks
That's
he's being funny, but
right.
he's actually right on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I found the perfect cartoon to describe this whole situation. And the gentleman's holding the sign. He says, the not very good is near. And then the two passerbys, one says he's embraced nuance.
Unlike CNN or MSNBC,
Yeah.
he got the nuance. I got it. I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I forget who posted this, but I thought this was pretty good. Sort of capturing some of the quotes from people at different points in time and how the stock has done since then. So we've got
Yeah.
Tim Waltz said Tesla stock is 225 and dropping, and it's up 33% since then.
Yep.
Fred Lambert of Electric said, I sold all my Tesla shares in September of 2024. It's up 27% since then. Ross Gerber, our friend Ross Gerber.
Yes.
Um, whoops, I did lose the chart. Here we go. Press
I,
the wrong button.
I can see you. I can see
You
it.
can see it.
I can see it.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Ross Gerber said Tesla stock price now reflects the value of having no CEO. Great job, Tesla board of directors. Time for a shakeup. And the stock now is up a mere 118% since then.
Got it.
That's December of 2022. And we've got quotes from Gordon Johnson. The stock is up 1,500% since his quote. He said Tesla is a company that's going to zero. Herbert Diess of Volkswagen said Tesla's days are numbered once we get serious. I guess they haven't gotten serious yet.
It'll happen. Give them time.
Yeah. Steve Wozniak said Tesla's overhyped. I don't think they'll be around in 10 years. Well, the clock is still running on this one because he said this in July of 2017.
Right. Right. So we got 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So we haven't proven him wrong yet.
But only up
Carlos
there.
Ghosn, the former Nissan CEO, said they're just a niche player that won't scale, which is kind of interesting because I think he actually is a big fan of Tesla.
Oh, interesting.
But that's a good quote from 2015.
Only 1,600% up. Yeah.
Yeah. And then here's Jim Cramer. It looks like in June of 2010, if I can read that correctly. I'm not sure Tesla has a business plan that's going to work. And actually, that was probably true back then. But anyway, um, that's a good one.
186X.
Yeah. All right. Let me just see. I've somehow I'm just going to redo this, Randy. I'm sorry. Here's some
Not
technical
at all.
difficulties.
We're
Here we go.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. Shifting gears.
Okay.
Last week, I wrote a post, and I'll get to that in a second. But this was a response to the post.
Okay.
Somebody's created an image actually that would make it for a pretty good T-shirt.
Okay.
Gigafactory Nirvana. Run the factories at full power. Robotaxi fleet 2025. Full factory output. World tour 2025. Okay. So what is this referring to? Well, so I made the observation that pretty soon Tesla won't have to worry too much about consumer demand.
Right.
Right? Any unsold vehicles, they can just add to the robotaxi fleet. So that would allow them just to run the factories at whatever the optimal level is, and they can turn any excess production into a revenue stream.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at the bottom there, I've got the little formulas. Currently production equals sales to consumers plus desired inventory plus undesired inventory. But in the future, or soon, production is going to equal sales to consumers plus desired inventory plus additions to the Tesla robotaxi fleet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this whole idea of worrying about where consumer demand is and matching up production in blue with deliveries in orange or yellow here will become kind of a quaint idea. Now, they can't fully do this until robotaxi is in operation, all around the world.
Sure.
But we're headed into that future. And of course, maybe not all the vehicles they'll want to, put in the robotaxi fleet. Eventually, if you are making cybercabs, then maybe you don't bother with Model 3s and Model Ys going into the fleet.
Maybe, but
But
those could be in the fleet as a result of the Airbnb type.
sure, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. But this will be a significant advantage for Tesla because it's also going to drive the unit cost
Sure.
of each vehicle down. Right? There's a certain fixed cost of running a factory, no matter how many vehicles you produce.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can, spread that out over more vehicles at the more optimal production rate, that will help Tesla with its unit costs and bring it down for everybody.
Sure. Now you could flip
Okay.
this on its head. You could flip. I agree with you 100%, by the way. I think it's very, very a good analysis. It reminds me of Tony Seba's analysis about super energy, where you get to a certain point where the energy you're producing has no home, so you can sell it for free.
Yeah.
Or you actually want to offload it because you want to get rid of it, so you
Right.
get it for free, or even pay somebody to take it. And that's happened a couple of times in Germany and Australia, where they've actually been negative on what they sell it for. So Tesla on the other side of the coin, in my opinion, is going to get once you have unsupervised self-driving, I don't think they'll ever have a problem selling a car again unless they can massively increase the amount that they're manufacturing. So the opposite problem could also attenuate, which would be, are we going to sell cars to consumers? Or are we going to restrict because we want to put the cars in the fleet first, and we're only going to sell what's left over to the consumers? So those are a couple of possible alternative results as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the nuance in that is this, right? Um,
Have I lost you?
in just a second. That means that there won't be any. Can you hear me?
No, I'm getting a freeze. So are you there now?
Yes,
Okay, so can you start this one over? The nuance is
sure. So the nuance here is that if vehicles that Tesla produces itself and keeps for its own fleet are actually more profitable, and we'll get to the details here in a second in terms of the numbers, then that also means then there's no need for Tesla to offer any incentives or discounts to people to buy their vehicles.
Right.
Okay. And in fact, it may also mean that we may be approaching the point where the price to consumers goes up, because if the value of the vehicle goes up, this idea that Tesla stops selling to consumers is kind of the wrong way to think about it. It's more that Tesla will sell you a vehicle, but you have to be willing to pay a lot for it.
Right. And this is what Elon
Right?
has talked. This is what Elon's talked about all along, with the dramatic increase in the valuation of the asset themselves.
That's right. And so it cuts both ways, though, right? If you own a Tesla, then that's great that your car appreciates. But if you want to buy a Tesla, you may be priced out of the market because, by the way, that new vehicle has also appreciated.
Yes. And this is, I've been talking about this for a long time, and a lot of folks that I've said this to, even smart people that are my co-hosts, have gone, "Oh, I don't think that's ever going to happen." But it comes down, is you, first of all, you have the raw cost. So you get to a place where, if you're not going to use it in the fleet as a Airbnb item, you're priced out of the market because you don't want to pay all that money for something that, you can buy something else that might be nearly as good for a lot less. The other side of and then in addition, you've got the cost of the FSD, or
Yeah.
the what you're going to pay on a monthly basis, at $100. Well, that's probably going to go way up for those people that are putting it in the fleet. So then, is there a separate price for people that aren't putting the car in the fleet? And does that make any sense for Tesla to even do?
Well, not really, because again, if the vehicles, and I'll flip to this chart, if the vehicles are way more profitable in the fleet than selling them, then Tesla has in essence, a fiduciary duty to its shareholders to put the vehicles in the fleet,
Yep.
right? I know, you want to buy a car cheaply. That's great. Good for you. But you know what? That vehicle has a higher purpose. It has a higher use,
Yeah.
right? Higher revenue, higher profits. And so again, this table we've talked about before in the past, I think that when Tesla sells a car, let's say for $40,000, they might earn a profit of $4,000. This is after tax,
Right.
right? And if you buy a car every 5 years, then they're earning this $4,000, once every 5 years from you.
Right.
And then if we compare everything else to that, we can quickly see that Cybercab, for example, right, which maybe generates 60,000 a year in recurring revenue, right? And because the battery pack is half of this other vehicle in Model Y,
Right.
on a vehicle equivalent, battery pack equivalent basis, this is 60 times more profitable
Right.
than selling a car. Right, it's a no-brainer. Like, why would Tesla, like to your point, why would Tesla sell any cars? It's not that they're going to stop selling cars. It's just that you're going to have to pay a higher price if you
Hmm.
want to own a car.
Hmm. Yep.
And I think that's the way to think about it. It's not that they're going to wake up one day and say, "Oh, we're going to stop selling it to you." It's just that you're going to have to compete against this kind of profitability if you want to buy one.
Hmm. Hmm. So,
Okay.
so,
And
the, so the Airbnb model might be the model for those people who do wish to own a car still.
yeah, that's right. And that will be the only way to really afford a car.
Yeah. Hmm. Or at least a
The,
Tesla.
the Tesla. Yeah. Well, the other vehicles though, they depreciate in value because they're
Right.
less desirable,
Right.
even less desirable than they are already now.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then, of course, just to touch on this, the same kind of approach with Optimus. If Optimus earns a recurring revenue, let's say of 32,000 a year,
Hmm.
initially it'll be higher than that. There's 2.3 kilowatt hour battery pack, so it's equivalent to 33 Model Ys, right? And over 5 years, times, on a per vehicle equivalent basis, that's 900 times more profitable than selling a car.
On a per battery basis. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Per battery, yeah,
so if you
yeah,
have a shortage of batteries, you're always going to want to build Optimus first.
that's right. Yeah, a colossal difference in profitability there. Okay.
Yep.
So again, hopefully this puts into perspective for some folks. And just to repeat, it's not that Tesla doesn't want to sell you a car. It's just that it won't make economic sense for them to try to do that. If you want one, fine, you'll have to pay up for it.
Yeah. And Tesla has proven in the past that they don't want the middleman to make that money. So if they sold it for $40,000 or $50,000, middlemen would just buy them up and resell them for $100,000. So it would make no sense. Yeah.
That's right. Now, there are some things they can do with pricing of FSD and the take rate in robotaxi in order to recapture some of that profit.
Mm-hmm.
So there are things that Tesla can do with the existing fleet and that kind of stuff. Now, one of the pushbacks I get from people is, well, if Tesla buys its own vehicles, the amount of capital that they're going to have to invest is going to be so colossal, it's not going to work.
It's such a dumb argument.
Right? So again, here's a vehicle earning $62,000 a year.
Yeah.
How much is a Cybercab going to cost Tesla to make, Randy?
16,000.
Well, let's call it 15. So
okay.
That means in 4 quarters, right, the vehicle has paid for itself 4 times.
Yes.
Right? The
Yes.
15,000 a quarter you've yes. paid for. So the vehicle basically, again, to make that even clearer, the vehicle pays for itself after 3 months.
Yes. In fact, and more interestingly, it's paying for itself along the way. So
yeah.
The way that I sometimes look at that when you're looking at like long-term interest or whatever is take half of that. So actually, roughly speaking, in terms of cash flow, you're out of it in 2 months.
Yeah. Right. And again, this is a recurring revenue of only 60,000. I think that could be actually at the low end.
Especially if it's doing those deliveries in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so the other thing to think about too is how long does it take Tesla to pay their suppliers?
Indeed.
Well, we have a way to track that.
Yes.
And here it is, days payable outstanding. So right now they pay their suppliers between 60 days and let's call it 90 days. Mm-hmm. So 2 to 3 months.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If this was 90, the car would pay itself before they paid the supplier for the cost of all the materials.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No.
Isn't that kind of staggering? Now,
I've been laughing at this concept, for months because it's like, no, there's really no capital expense. And even if there was, Tesla has, I don't know, 38 billion hanging around. And then if you, maybe you're going to do this, maybe I'm getting ahead of you, you have this multiplier effect. So the next 3 months, 4 months, they're throwing off free cash flow of that amount. So that would pay for a doubling of the fleet without even taking into consideration the amount of time it takes to pay for the raw materials.
For every car you produce in a year, the car pays for another right. Pays for itself and another 3.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I didn't do that chart, Randy, because I knew that you would say it. So I didn't feel the need. Yeah. I'm starting to get one step ahead of you, getting one step ahead of me. Starting to wise up to your ways, Randy.
I see.
Yeah. So we do have this post from Tesla a couple days ago. And they says, with the robotaxi network, your Tesla will be able to earn money while you're not using it, essentially paying for itself. Okay.
Yep.
So that's interesting, right? Mm-hmm. It will go to work just like you. Or maybe, you won't need to go to work if your car is earning money. But again, we don't know the details of what Tesla is going to offer vehicle owners here in terms of what that might look like. Mm-hmm. Teslanomics is quite excited. This is going to be my next $1 million business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we shall see how this looks. And hopefully we learn some more details about this, in the coming weeks and months.
Well, okay. But again, the whatever Tesla decides to do, however they pay or split the profits, it really won't matter. The market will decide what that vehicle is worth.
Yes.
So you may start out making if you do it the first year and Tesla sets it up with the idea that if you run it 40 hours a week, you'll make 20 grand. That will be fine, except somebody else is going to be willing to run it 40 hours. I'm sorry, did I say 40 hours? 40 hours a week. Somebody else is going to be willing to work 80 hours a week, have the car out for 80 hours a week. So they're going to be willing to buy that car from you in order to do that. You also have that person that's maybe willing to make, 20% on their investment, and maybe you're trying to make 30% on your investment. And so
Yeah.
they're still going to buy the car from you. So it's going to be like purchasing a small business, and it's going to be very transparent. It's going to be very obvious to everybody, as opposed to buying, say, a bike shop or a restaurant where it's a lot less transparency. This will be like a marketplace that has a lot of transparency.
Oh, those are good points. Yep. Um, yeah, everybody fixates often on terms of, how's Tesla going to do this? What's the pricing? Well, and to your point, the market will dictate it. Yep, exactly. Okay, so here's a post from Jesse, and he says, how many more years of this is it going to take? The sun really is a giant nuclear fusion reactor. Physicists are not kidding. Um, and so what we're seeing here is a chart that was put together some time ago. And here's the little bit zoomed in version. And we've talked about this before. Well, where you've got solar energy and then you've got the experts' estimates for where it's going to be,
Oh, that's
you
right.
know,
Yeah.
going out a few years, right? And they tend to be flat and even down, I guess, in some cases here, right? And what's happening is this, right? And kind of exaggerated, I guess, for effect here, but we're off the charts here.
Right.
Okay. And so James Dalmas said, analysts often zero-weight exponential trends because they are hard to forecast. The result is garbage forecasts that negatively impact investment. This is happening with robotaxi forecasts, especially for Tesla. It will happen with humanoids too.
Mhm.
Analysts generally care more about the batting average than error size, so they predict the probability of all rare events as zero, even if the rare event is the most important factor.
Yeah.
I thought that was an excellent statement.
I like it. Yeah.
Okay. So, of course, my response was this: exponentials blow up the spreadsheet. And James responded, he says, all the good stuff happens on a log plot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my suggestion to him, I didn't show it here, but that should either be on a t-shirt and also plastered on the side of Starship next time it launches. Right. Wouldn't that be an interesting message? You'd wonder kind of what CNN would say. There's this saying on the side of Starship. What does this mean? We don't understand why they're saying that.
Yeah.
Seems like SpaceX could have some fun with that.
Yeah. And another thing is you could kind of drop back 4 years, and you could be in the boardroom inside of Elon's head, because I'm not sure this is the stuff he shares with his own board, but you're in Elon's own head 4 years ago, and you're trying to make decisions about more affordable cars, truck design, etc. But in your head, in this boardroom in your head, you're saying it's all going to be about robotaxis, and everybody is still concentrating on 20 million vehicles being sold in 2030, and Elon's concentrating on 10 million robotaxis being deployed every year in 2030 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that could dramatically impact the way that you think about what the next vehicles are going to be and when you're going to release them. And so maybe a halo vehicle of this wild and crazy car, and then moving from that to a partially boxed, what do you call it, unboxed creation, and then to a fully unboxed RoboCab. This may be kind of where the flip got switched, might have been 4 years ago, and why at the time I kept saying, you could go back and watch my videos. I said, we have this inflection point coming where the robotic vehicles is going to make it stupid to own a car. So why are we talking 20 million vehicles?
Yeah.
At some point it flips. At some point you're no longer talking about selling vehicles. So I think that's what he was thinking 4 years ago, probably way ahead of the rest of us.
I agree. And Randy, you said the flip got switched, but
Is
I
that
think you
right?
meant the opposite. But that was good. That was a good flip of the switch you did there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Can I use that?
And
I should be able to use that in the future, even though you're the one that caught it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And speaking of flips getting switched, here is apparently that has happened now with X and Twitter.
Oh,
More people refer to X as X than Twitter now.
yay!
So the flip has been switched, Randy.
There you go.
Yeah.
I
Again, that was a great unintentional, mistake by you, but it works perfectly with this chart.
segue. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Very well done.
Huh. That's interesting. So interesting.
All right, this is kind of interesting. This is a little bit off topic, but kind of related to the broader picture. Just thought this was kind of an interesting random thing. So we've got something called de minimis shipments, and they've soared in recent years coming to the United States. So it's the number of shipments processed at the U.S. border in millions per year. So last year we had 1.36 billion
Hmm.
packages
Hmm.
coming into our borders, 28% increase from the year before.
Hmm.
Okay, so and 10 years ago this was, one,
Tiny
it's
fraction.
tiny fraction. It's grown by a factor of 10 since
Yes.
over the
Factor
last
of
10
10.
years.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the so there's a de minimis tariff, right? So the White House declared that the de minimis tariff, one of the major pressure points of the disputes, would also be slashed. Right. So starting from May 14th, that was yesterday,
Yeah.
the U.S. will more than half the current import tax on small parcels from China to 54%, down from initial 120%. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and this de minimis, by the way, it's since 2016, it applied to shipments of goods worth less than $800
Mm-hmm.
could enter the U.S. duty free.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Originally, it was brought back, that was put in place, I guess, back in 1938, and the cap was set at $1.
Mm.
So we've had a spot of inflation since then.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was just interesting. And apparently, according to this, the 1.36 billion in 2024, it's equivalent to 43 packages every second, accounting for more than 90% of all shipments to the United
Wow.
States.
Wow.
Now, that's by number, not by weight.
Yes.
Obviously, there's a lot more coming in container ships and stuff, but
For sure.
it's pretty staggering. All right, quiz time, Randy. We do this periodically to test your skills. China is shelling out on blank. These are exports of a product to China that have gone from 34 million in 2014 up to 842 million last year.
Something they were shipping to China.
Yes.
Chips.
Well, you're close. And
Soft.
let me
Soft.
give you one hint. It's something that's grown in California.
It's grown in California. Avocados. I don't know.
Pistachios.
Pistachios. Okay. Another huge crop in California.
Pistachio exports to China have skyrocketed.
Wow. Interesting.
So, so apparently the shipments to China account for about a third of its 3 billion crop
Wow.
exports in 2024.
Wow. Wow.
And you may not have known this, but the Chinese think that this pistachio is good for health and fortune, and they're often referred to as the happy nut in Chinese culture.
A happy nut. I know a few of those.
We're shipping our happy nuts to China. Yeah.
They're also probably not known to many people as they are a massive consumer of water, which is a problem for California's Central Valley because sometimes Central Valley doesn't have enough water, and these little pistachio nuts are voracious consumers.
But never fear, California is spending billions and billions of dollars on building new reservoirs, so
Yes,
it'll be
right.
fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm sure the same engineers that built the high-speed rail lines are hard at work there.
We do know that this should all be solved now because Elon just reiterated, although he says it'll be 2030. By 2030, we can do desalination, no problem, at the same cost as any other kind of water.
Yeah, no, that'll be great. That'll be huge for many parts of the world.
Right.
All right, sticking with the China theme, this cartoon I think is great. But comrade, those are the made-up numbers. As he has a chart there showing the Chinese economy going down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, too good not to share.
Too good not to share.
All right, second and final quiz for you, Randy.
Okay.
All right, you didn't get the first one right. Let's see if
No,
you can get this one right.
it
In
it
Q1,
was another snack though. I said chips and it was nuts.
you were close.
Nice close.
I'll give you some credit. In Q1 2025, production was down 50%, more than 50% from the peak in 2021.
This is a product.
This is a product the United States
Okay. Production down
produces.
50% from 2021 peak.
Yeah.
Um, okay. I am going to say, man, 2021. Uh,
And let me give you another hint, Randy.
okay. All right.
This is produced in virtually your backyard.
In my backyard.
Yeah.
Okay. Produced in my backyard.
Not where you are now, but where you live.
Yachts.
No. Hollywood
Oh, film.
TV and short and film shoot days.
Okay.
So the shoot days in LA were 22% lower than last year, down more than 50% from the 2021 peak.
Yeah, darn New Zealanders
Yeah.
and
Well,
Canadians.
sorry if the
Canadians,
country's so beautiful. Yeah.
Canadians and New Zealand. But the movie business is going to your other two passports.
That's
So
right. Yep. Anyway, I thought that was too good to
yeah, yeah,
pass up.
yeah.
All right. Clearly, Randy, we're in a bear market.
No,
No? Okay, good.
you actually passed into a bull market now, right? 20%
Okay.
up from the bottom.
So we can get rid of this chart. Okay. All right. We had a little bit of fun with this last week. Everybody's probably seen these images by now. The car under wraps.
Right.
Right. This is what I thought it might be. The the headlights and the wheel cover, you can kind of see,
All in the right
you know,
place.
the
Yeah,
wheel covers, some headlights. It looks just like it to me.
that's it.
But the mystery's been solved. I think it's this from the shareholder meeting last year.
See. So they just
Yeah,
were just covering it because they didn't want to get it wet or get,
maybe.
yeah.
But it sure set off a nice little frenzy on X for a few days, a couple
Yep,
days.
yep, yep.
Um, Tesla's looking to hire autopilot test specialists,
Hmm.
formerly called performance test drivers, in the Phoenix, Tempe area.
Oh,
Okay,
oh,
and I thought this might be the perfect job for you, Randy,
yeah, yeah.
because they're looking for people highlighted down here, experience with limit handling of vehicles on closed courses. A background in motorsports is preferred.
Wow. Yeah, that's something I have a lot of background in. Huh. So this is not autonomous performance. This is performance vehicles.
Yeah, I think they're going to have FSD, NASCARs and FSD F1 vehicles at some point. Max Verstappen could be challenged here by Tesla's F1 car.
That's right. That's right.
No, I understand that this is common language for this job description, but I thought it was interesting. Again, I told you we were going to have a lot of fun in today's show. This was too good to pass up as well. This is Jeremy. He says, "My Cybertruck is leaking a strange liquid. How much will this cost to fix?" And my response was, "Auto industry executive tears."
That's good. That's good. That's good. Did your wife write that?
And someone responded to me though. I said that's false because no, I came up with that myself, Randy.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So it's false because
There was another person that responded that said that it can't be auto industry executive tears because the puddle's too small.
it's too small. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah.
All right, just to close off with a flourish of some more cartoons here. This is my dog, Tariff. He's not housebroken.
That's good.
Kind of a big dog.
He's a big dog.
Yeah. Speaking of that, we saw today that the core PPI came in negative 0.4. You probably talked about this morning.
Absolutely did. Yeah.
This is, as AJ says, this is the most significant month-on-month decrease in over 10 years.
Right.
And so you would think that it's time for the Fed to cut. But here is the the video, I guess, from inside the Fed, or the image from inside the Fed. They're still trying to figure out which way the chart's going.
I see. Yeah, everybody's got a different view. Huh? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, and Chair Powell came out and gave a talk after those numbers came out and said, "Yeah, we're going to change our focus now to inflation."
All right. There you go.
Now, to a certain extent, I could understand what he's talking about because the economy seems extremely strong, with even
Yeah.
the number of weeks of people to find a job after they're laid off is decreasing. So there's an awful lot of strength in this economy. So on the one hand, I can see what he's talking about with those numbers from the CPI and the PPI this week. I don't know why he'd be concerned about inflation either. So anyway,
I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Last but not least, unfortunately, that's his go-to market position. He's got his fingers in his ears. And with that, Randy, we'll leave it there with the slides this week.
There it is. Yeah,
Yeah, it's been actually kind of a busy week for Tesla news.
yeah. It has been. It has been. And also for economic news and world news. Holy mackerel, the president's gone crazy. I mean, people are worried about how much time he spends on the golf course, but I don't know how. I mean, just if whether you like what he's doing or not, the amount of what he's doing is not something that you can factually check and say, no, he's not doing very much. He's doing more, I think, than any president in history in this short amount of time. I think it'd be hard to prove otherwise.
Yeah, it's I guess objectively a little hard to prove or disprove it, but certainly going to the Mideast and getting all the deals that are announced, and I guess you could argue, well, those deals were going to be announced anyway, and this is nothing new, but either way, it's impressive with the amount of money, the investment that he's been able to attract, or his team's been able to attract. And so, I think particularly exciting in the AI front,
Absolutely, 100%.
right? Um, so that's definitely favorable.
Yeah, and I know you follow the AI part of it very, very closely, and I'm going to say it was yeah, the hedge fund guy, Bill Bill the biggest hedge fund,
Bill Ackman?
Bill Ackman. Anyway, Bill
Ackman?
Ackman, yeah, Ackman was saying that this is, I think it was Ackman that said this. It might have been somebody else, but anyway, that the those countries, the three countries that are now where Trump is visiting, represent the third largest, fastest growing AI center in the world. So U.S. first, China second, and then this area. So making these partnerships at this moment is prescient on the part of the president. I mean, I wouldn't have known that. I didn't know that, and I follow it closely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's certainly important. And the good news is they have the capital to put to work.
Yeah.
Right. And we've seen with AI that is a key part of it. And of course, energy as well is another key factor.
Major.
So it's probably one of the perfect spots in the world to build AI factories.
Yes, and also isolating Iran. So this, whether you're
Yeah.
isolating them on the financial side by making all these deals with the major capital centers and oil centers of the Middle East, and then also isolating them in terms of destroying their surrogates, whether it's Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis or the Syrians, they're now pretty much completely isolated and apparently now willing to cut a deal. So that would be massive to get that accomplishment as well in the first 6 months.
Yep. No, that would be great for everybody.
Were you surprised that the market didn't respond more to the good inflation news, or do you think it was baked in?
Nothing surprises me with the market anymore. I think, I read a lot of different perspectives from Wall Street, and a lot of sort of people on Wall Street are deeply skeptical of the Trump administration.
Mhm.
There seems to be a bias there too in
Sure.
many corners, and so
Right.
that's kind of interesting. And so I think some of this may take a little bit more time to play out as it takes them time to realize what's actually happening.
Yeah. 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 It'll be interesting if we get another, obviously with those two reports, it's pretty likely that the PCE is going to come in really, really good. If the core PCE drops another point or two, basis point or two, that would, I mean, we sort of seem to be sealing the deal, unless you want to hold on to this notion of tariffs being inflationary, which, in my opinion, and Chair Powell's position, at least when he states it clearly, he doesn't believe that it's any more than price. There can be, he
Yeah,
points out, which I think it was fair for him to say, there can be knock-on effects from the price going up that you would call inflationary, but the price going up alone is not inflationary.
that's right. And I think the PPE numbers, I think, sort of showed some of that this month. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, no, things are looking up. And for Tesla, the robotaxi launch in June appears to still be on track. So good days ahead, Randy.
Good days ahead. Well, thank you, CERN. As always, I'm going to again encourage people that this weekend I will put the three different sections that I put out as part one, part two, and part three of CERN's bio. We'll put that up as a continuous piece for if you've got an hour and a half you don't know what to do with, and you're thinking that you'd like to learn about mountain climbing, bicycle riding, and comedian wives. This would be something that would be worth your time.
Yeah, and I'll just mention to folks here, Randy, your video has been a little bit choppy the last few minutes. So Randy is out in the middle of the Pacific, so it's understandable if his video is not so clear.
Yeah, I've been watching, making sure that at least from my end, I mean, there's been a couple of times when you've not quickly answered. Your normal speed of response hasn't been quite as usual. So that's probably all it has to do with that very thing. CERN, thanks as always. It's so great to have you on. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.